guys, and welcome to the Going, Growing, and Healing Through Grief podcast. I am your host, Lucretia Miller. This is my lovely aunt, Janina.
Hello, everybody.
This is our second episode and our first episode of the new year. So, Happy New Year to
Yes.
everyone. And I hope the year's been starting off great for everyone. There has been so much going on in the world and in individual lives. And I just hope that everyone is just trying to stay afloat and trying to stay positive. On this episode, this is part two of actually a continuation from our first episode, which was entitled December 12th. Not December 12th,
December
Jesus.
28th.
Just December 28th. What's wrong with
That's
me?
okay.
December 28th, 1993, which is the day that my mother passed away. I was 4 years old when my mom passed away. And if you go back and look at the first episode, I do explain about how, that's the first event in my life that changed the whole trajectory of my life. And just kind of going into that day with a few of my family members, mainly my aunts, which are her sisters. My aunt Janina is her baby sister.
hmm
The first episode was with my aunt Lacey, which was the middle sister of my grandmother's three children. My mother was the oldest, my aunt Lacey, and now my aunt Janina. The purpose of this podcast is to just basically explore the grief uh, that has occurred in our lives and how we deal with it and how we are navigating life through that grief and trying to help heal ourselves and hope to help someone else. Um, God put it on my heart to do this because we have a lot of grief and a lot of things we've been through in my family. And I want us to be able to talk about it openly and just freely. So, how do you feel today?
I feel good.
You feel good.
I feel good, and I really applaud you for doing this because it is necessary. And I often feel that so many things can be resolved that people would just have a conversation or just have the opportunity to talk about it. So,
I agree. I agree. Grief is one of those things where it's one of the taboo subjects in life, but you have to talk about it because I feel like if we don't talk about it, you're not really going to understand those things that you are going through,
right.
and you're not going to be able to deal with it and kind of navigate your life and how you're supposed to quote unquote cope
Right.
with it in a way.
Because I feel like grief is something that the loss or the transition of certain loved ones, you don't get over it, but God gives you the grace to carry on. And some days are better than others
Hmm.
because, what is it, like 32 years later? I still think about your mom, and that's still like a void in my life because
For sure.
I didn't know life without her. She was here before I got here. So to not have somebody that has always been a focal point or one of the focal points in your life to be gone, you don't get over it, but you
Exactly.
do have to carry on.
Exactly. And that's what I do truly feel. I don't feel that you ever get over someone that you've lost.
Right.
You just, you literally learn to live without them physically being in the world. You have to learn to live without them there, but you don't get over it. You just learn to live with that feeling. And when it comes, you kind of work through it and continue on.
Right.
And in bringing that up, I want to ask, I think I've asked, uh, Auntie Nene, which is my aunt Lacey. We call her Auntie Nene.
Right.
Um, I believe I asked her like, "Do you remember where you were when you found out that she passed away? Do you remember where you were?"
I know exactly. This is my recollection. Tuesday, December 28th, 1993.
Wow.
I was at work and your auntie Nene called and said that they had rushed your mom to the hospital, that she
Mm.
was not responsive. And I was the first one to get to the hospital. So it was at Mount Sinai. So when I got there, uh, they said, well, they're working on it. So your auntie Nene got there next. So I remember telling her, I said, they say that they're working on her. I said, but I don't think she made it. And she was like, don't say that, don't say that. I said, okay, I'm sorry. So then by that time, your grandmother and your grandfather got there. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Mom, I said, they say that they're working on it. I said, but I don't think she made it. And I remember your grandmama just saying, Jesus, you know. And unfortunately, it was true. She
Yeah.
didn't make it. But that whole leading up to that whole Christmas, it was so 1993, that Christmas, that was like one of our best Christmases because I remember I was emphatic about getting a tree. I wanted, grandmama and granddad. I was like, look, we got to get a tree. It got to be, I want it to be a decorated tree. So of course, Paw or your granddaddy, he had got a tree.
Mm-hmm.
So all the lights and all of that,
Yeah, I remember that tree. It's a beautiful tree.
right? But then also before uh that Thanksgiving, prior to that, your grandmother kept on saying, I want a family photo. I want a family photo before I die.
Mm-hmm.
She kept on saying that. We got to do a family photo. We ain't never did a family photo. And that was really our only family photo that we did.
Yeah, that I
Right.
was only 4, but
Right.
yeah, that
I mean,
I've seen all
right.
these pictures. But that's the only actual like studio
Exactly.
photo.
Because she was so emphatic about getting that photo. So we had did that photo, I want to say, because that whole year was kind of interesting because of the fact that that was the year when I was first diagnosed with a DVT or deep vein thrombosis or a blood clot,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the hospital
Mm-hmm.
for a week or two
Mm-hmm.
and off work for a month. And so when your mom passed, everybody thought that I was the one who had passed
Oh wow.
because it was like, oh, Laverne's daughter that was in the hospital. It was like, no, that was her youngest daughter. This was her older daughter that passed. And so everybody thought that it was me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just kind of one of those very interesting years because okay, prior to that, our oldest cousin had passed, Derek, which was Uncle Julian's son.
Okay. I
So
think.
Derek passed in October because I was in the hospital, and then your mom passed in December.
Okay.
So it was like
Yeah.
back to back,
Back. Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
but it's I should say it's like one of those things that it happened, but it still in a way feel like it's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds crazy, like 30 some odd years later, but it's still a thing of it wasn't supposed to be like
No,
this.
I completely get that. Completely understand that. Empathize with that. I mean, because we've lost the same people. They're different people in our lives to us, but
Right.
we've lost the same people.
And
So I
different
do get
relationships,
that.
right?
I
Yeah.
get it. It's even for me, like it's still a dream. Like I don't know. I just sit and I think I was just like, wow. Like I look at all the things I've been through, and just like that particular day is so vivid in my mind. Like I close
Right.
my eyes, I see. I don't even have to close my eyes. I see it.
Right.
Like vividly see it. Can almost touch it like
Right.
that day. So it does sometimes feel like a dream. And for me myself, I'm a dreamer. I dream a lot. Don't know
Right.
why. I see a lot of my dreams. So it does feel like, man, was that a dream? But no, it's actually real.
Right.
How do you feel like you've navigated through life without her? How have you tried to?
It's it's been interesting because like your auntie Nene said, I was close to your mom. She and I would have what B and Elise would literally stay up all night drinking pots of coffee
Mm,
and talking. We could start talking at 6 in the evening. One time, literally, we was sitting up and we heard the birds chirping because we had talked all night, just laughing
mm-hmm,
and just drinking coffee. So it's, my thing is, a part of me kind of had, from time to time, I have gone through what you call survivor's remorse, because I felt like, okay, I ain't got no kids or whatever. Why didn't God take me and keep her?
Mm.
It's like, you know, who would like really miss me?
Mm-hmm.
Type of thing. But
No, but I get that, and that's I honestly get that, and it's interesting because that's the point of this. We've all lost these people, but we've all individually felt different
different ways,
ways
right,
when we've lost these people.
right,
So yeah,
right,
that I feel that, just like how you said, you were I remember you being sick. I didn't know exactly what it was you were in
right,
the hospital for,
right.
but I remember coming to see you
Mm-hmm.
being in the hospital. Like I said, I had no idea what was going on, but
Right,
I remember, I don't know why hospitals are just always so stark and white. Like, hospitals are
right.
vividly white, and like I remember
Because
just
of the bright
seeing you
lights.
laying in the bedroom, and it's crazy because I think, was it that year too? I think Granddaddy had went to the hospital for something,
I'm not sure.
and I remember seeing him in the hospital. But that feeling of what everyone thought it was you because you were in the hospital, and then
Right.
you feeling like, why not me? I kind of felt like that when Jarrell passed,
Okay.
because he had never been sick. I was
Okay.
the
The
one
one that
always
was,
sick.
yeah.
I was the one
Wow.
always sick in the hospital.
Wow. Okay.
And out of nowhere, here he is, the
Right.
first time,
Getting sick and
and
right.
I just did not understand it. Still, some days I don't understand you, but God
Right.
knows all. So I get that. I can definitely
Relate to that.
relate to that
Okay.
feeling, like, for sure,
Wow.
for sure.
Wow. But yeah, but she and I would talk a lot, and one thing I can say is that your grandmother, and I don't know if the other ones really paid attention to it or whatever, but grandma explained each of our personalities, to try to understand each other. Because I remember me and Lacey saying, why does Elise cry so much? And I remember Mama saying, well, she has a tender heart, and so things, um, she's more sensitive to things. It's not that she crazy; it's just that she's very sensitive. Then me and Elise would say, Nene thinks she's somebody's mama, and so Mama was like, no, she's just very nurturing, and she wants everybody to be okay. And so it may seem like that she's being bossy, but it's really that she's being protective. Then I was the one that always just would basically kind of read and kind of be to myself or whatever. And so Auntie Nene would be like, your baby's weird. And she's like, she's not weird. She just like to spend time alone or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because they were like, even air sometimes, she don't want to play with us. And so she was like, she don't have to play with y'all. Leave her
Mm-hmm.
alone. What is she doing? She just in there reading. And she's like, leave her alone. Let her read. Talk about your dumb baby. She's like, she's not my dumb baby. She wants to read.
I love that you bring that up because Grandma always emphasized to me how she loved you all exactly how you all needed to be loved, because you all were so different.
Right.
She loved you all and treated you all and met you all exactly where you were.
Right. And that
And
helped.
that's
Right.
I love that.
It's good because I think that has also given me to have empathy for other people and not try to put everybody in the same box, and try to see people for their personality differences. And so to me, that really is um that's how you learn unconditional love,
Hmm.
not trying to make everybody a clone or
Yeah,
everybody to be the same, because we're all different.
very,
And
very
even though we
true.
may all be in the same environment, everybody's perception of things are going to be different.
Very
So,
true. I also wanted to ask, do you feel like, or not, do you feel like, or should I say, Is there anything that you purposely do to try to carry some of her with you, or to kind of commemorate her in your life? To kind of
There are still songs that when I hear them, I still think of your mom. Anytime I hear Safe in His Arms,
for sure, me too.
anytime I hear Climbing Up the Mountain, uh, Going Up Yonder, because she used to sing that.
Before Annette, I remember Annette singing that all the time when I was little. So.
But no, your mom and Shirley, Dorothy's
Oh
sister.
wow, okay.
Yeah, they used to sing Going Up Yonder together. Because basically, your mom only did the part, when Tremaine comes out, you know, when she do the slow part,
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
woo, that
Mhm.
was the part that your mother would do.
Okay.
So, but I always think about her with that. When I beat a tambourine, because could nobody beat a tambourine like your mama. So, it's still things to this day. I still think about her, and God knows whenever I see you, is just like, oh my God,
Yeah, I
you
know.
know, because I remember when you all was little and y'all would get on her nerves, and I would tell her, I'm like, just put them in the room. Just make sure there ain't nothing that's gonna hurt them, and just close the door on them. Just
Mhm.
I'm like, they'll be okay, you know. And then it's a part of me, that's like, Lise, you see how your kids turned out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah. I definitely wish I was able to live this life with her here. I really, really do. But in doing this, I feel like I can learn more about her and um hopefully understand her a little bit more, and just to see how everyone else tells her
right.
to themselves in their life. Um what is your first memory? Your first memory with her.
This is so well. It's funny, but it's true. I was literally afraid of my shadow, and Maxine and Laverne, Mama and Auntie, they didn't make it no better. Uh, Mom, it was like I saw my shadow, and and I was scared. And so Elise came in there and was like, baby, it's okay. And so she started making like some hand puppets. Cause I don't know if it was like a candle in the room or whatever, but
Hmm.
I woke up and I saw myself.
A
I
lot of
saw
little
my
kids are
shadow,
afraid of their
whatever.
shadow. It's okay.
But you would think that your mother and your aunt would be the comforting one. They in the kitchen just dad a girl, she up there scared of her shadow. Yeah, 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 yeah. They just bust up laughing. But Elise was always one that was, like, come on, baby, or whatever. And so
Hmm.
she like, see, it's okay. So like she made like a dog or whatever, So she was always the one to, excuse me, really kind of nurture me. And then also, excuse me, when I was younger, I was anemic,
Okay.
and I used to have to take iron drops.
Hmm.
And she was the only person that I would take my iron drops for.
Oh wow.
They would put it in my milk, and
Oh, in your milk?
because I couldn't take it straight.
That's gonna make your milk taste disgusting.
Well, but she would be like, "Come on, baby,
Hmm.
um, you got to take this because we don't want you to be sick. So come
Hmm.
on, like just come on and drink just a little bit. I'd be like, it's Nancy. She like, I know, but come on. But I would drink
Oh,
it.
the little sister, big
Right,
sister.
because mama be like, look, I ain't got because the thing is, they have patience for that first one. You know,
Hmm.
by the time you get to the third one, they don't care.
Look, I'm gonna say this for the mamas,
Uh,
okay? The
mm,
kids be stressing you out
right,
sometimes. Okay,
right.
they
And
be
by
a
the
bit
time
much.
and by the time you done got to the third, whatever, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
But that's what you have the siblings
And
for, you know.
and
It's a
hopefully,
great thing
right,
to have
and
a
hopefully you
good
got
big
some good
sister.
siblings or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
because Lacey was like the prankster or whatever. Because when I was younger, I really didn't know days. When you're younger, you don't know days. So she would wake me up and like, Janina, it's your birthday. I'm like, really? yeah, it's your birthday, mama gonna give you a cake, yada yada yada. Lise, ain't it her birthday? And she be like, no. She be like, Nay, don't be doing her like that. The next day, wake up, it's your birthday.
And
Really?
you
It's
still,
right.
but that's what siblings do
Right.
as well.
And then plus, Lacey used to put me in a clothes sack, pull the clothes up the clothes sack, and put me in the back of the closet. And mama be like, if you don't get my child up out
That's
that closet,
hilarious.
just right.
But that's siblings for you.
I know.
That's a true household full of siblings and sisters at that. You got the one that's the oldest
Right.
like, oh. Then you got that middle one.
Right.
Yeah, she was literally just a regular middle child treating the baby sister out.
Right.
The middle child treats the baby
But the thing
sister.
is, one thing I can always say, mama always stress, each of you got two best friends, and these are your girlfriends, and you don't let nobody talk about your sister. It, that was that was like number one rule. It's like, okay. And even with our disagreements, we can only go so far because we wasn't allowed to go back and forth, and and God forbid, what no you fighting,
Mm-hmm.
because how you hear about some of these siblings talking about they done threw pots and pans, and I've even heard
Mm-hmm.
some people saying that they have actually shot at their
Wow.
siblings, which but that's between them and they God.
Yeah, but that's such a good thing for grandma to have emphasized for you all because
Right.
in the world that is all you
That's all you
have.
got.
That's all
Right.
you have. So you have to treat each other with love. And you may not get along all the time, but you have to know at the end of the day, this is all I have. So I'm gonna have your
Right.
back, you have my back. Will I like everything you do at the end of the
No.
day? No. Are you gonna like everything I do? No. But as long as we genuinely love each other, want to see each other win, and try our best to push and boost each other to
Right.
be good in life and have each other's back when the world doesn't. That's what it's
Right.
about. And those values, they're not instilled like that these days
And
at
just to
all.
cover each other. And it's not a condoning somebody's wrong, but it's to just have that love for them,
Mm-hmm.
if they're going through a rough patch. Because one thing that your grandmother always emphasized, I don't care what's going on outside, when you come into these four walls, meaning wherever you live,
Mm-hmm.
you should always feel safe, protected, and loved.
Yeah.
Your home should always be your haven.
Always.
Always. So,
Always. Always.
and then your
Always.
mom, I I feel like I had a haven, because she would call me Bugaboo Boo.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that first year, 1994, that first birthday without her, to me that was the worst day of my life. It was
Mm.
almost like anytime somebody said happy birthday, it was like somebody running their nails over a chalkboard. It was just such a
Mm.
annoying sound to me. I didn't want to hear nobody say happy birthday to me except her.
Wow.
And when midnight, September 1st struck, I was so happy. I was
Wow.
like, this just throw the whole day away. I'm like, what you doing for your birthday? Get away from me. My oldest sister is not here.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me. Happy birthday. Shut up.
Yeah.
If it's not coming from her, I don't want to hear it.
And see that's how grief is. That it comes in waves and affects us in so many different ways individually. Like that's your birthday, not her birthday, but it's
Right.
your birthday, and you just were
I was mis
yeah,
I
and I
really I was
and that
miserable.
yeah.
And I can't really you know what? I do recall when her birthday came. No, I don't recall when her birthday came, but I do remember when your birthday came, and we were, trying to like trying to make the most of it or whatever.
Mhm.
And you were tearful, which is understandable. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And so, but I definitely remember like my birthday. I That was like the worst day. It was like, oh, you know.
Mhm.
And the thing is, I get it that grief is just an extension of love, because if you didn't love the person, you wouldn't grieve them.
Mhm.
Somebody who passed and you don't love them, you don't grieve them. It's
Hmm.
like, oh well, sorry for the loss, but there's no grieving.
Yeah, I feel like grief is definitely an extension of love, but there are other elements of grief besides too. People can grieve in guilt. That's another episode we'll
Mm-hmm.
come on about. People can grieve with that. People can grieve in just the feeling of, I guess that comes with the guilt, of like unfulfillment of of missed opportunity they haven't had
Right.
with people as well. So it's a lot of different, but love for sure. I
Right.
feel like love for sure, but grief has so many different ins and outs
And I'm
of
glad you
it.
brought that up because of the fact that I remember your aunt touching on that, saying about how that Monday before, that Monday before, your mama was calling everybody.
Hmm.
And she even called me. And yeah, we did have rehearsal. We were in Chosen at that time.
Hmm.
So I saw she called and I was like, I said no, because also I would call your mother Alberta. I was like, Alberta gonna be talking all night. I need to go to sleep.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I'll talk to her on tomorrow. She called Uncle, and I remember Uncle saying, she kept on saying, all right, I'll talk to you later. I love you. And he said, okay, baby. She was like, all right now, I'm gonna talk to you later. I love you. He was like, yeah, baby, I love you too. He said she said it about 3 or 4 times,
Wow.
you know. And so my thing was when she passed, I didn't feel like it was anything that I hadn't said because good, bad, and different, I had told her because
Hmm.
it was even funny one time while we was living together because we both grown, but she had did something and I told her, I said, you know what? I'm not gonna F with you no more. I said, that's it. Baby. She cried. And this was when we still had the three flags. She gonna go downstairs and tell
Hmm.
grandma. Mama gonna come upstairs. Come on. What you tell your sister? I said, I told her what I told her.
Hmm.
Talk about, you can't tell her that. I said, I did. I said, I told her that. And so then she came back upstairs. I told her, I said, listen, what you doing running downstairs telling
Hmm.
mama? I'm like, we grown women. Don't be telling her. I'm like, you got a problem with me, you tell
Hmm.
me. So you hurt my feelings. I
Well,
said,
mama's always gonna be your mom if you got a good mama. So
right.
you
I,
go.
I know, but I'm telling her, I'm like, my thing was this. That's between you and me. That's
Hmm.
just like I told Mama that time when she was trying to talk about Auntie Nene to me. Not in a bad way, but she
Hmm.
was like, "Let me tell you what your sister said." I'm like, "You don't talk about my sister.
Hmm.
That's my child. When you go talk about your child to somebody else, that's my sister." And then I told her, I said, "Would you let me talk about your sister?" No. I said, "Well, okay,
Hmm.
that's the same thing." But no, but I told your mom, I said, "Listen, I said we can have our disagreements and we can talk about it." You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so you not that things was always perfect,
Yeah,
but
no.
I would let her know if she, if
Hmm.
she was getting on my nerve or whatever. And then also I was the one that would tell her, listen, stop letting stuff build up and
Hmm.
not addressing stuff. Not saying that you
Hmm.
address everything, but it's like she would allow things to pile up and then a mosquito brush her or something. And it's the like
I
what
can
is
understand that, guys. I'm a little bit like that, but
right,
I'm working on that,
right.
so I definitely
But I would
understand.
tell her like, don't do that because people gonna think you crazy.
Hmm.
I'm like, yeah, I understand stuff build up. I said, but don't let it get to the point where you just get all this built up tension
Hmm.
and then you release at what seems like an inappropriate time. It's like that wasn't even that serious, but so much other serious stuff has
Hmm.
gone on that you haven't addressed.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Last question. I would say, do you feel like without her is there a void for you, or do you feel like God has filled that up? Because God definitely does come in and fill places up for you that you feel aren't fulfilled. Did you ever feel it? Do you feel like that? Do you feel a little bit fuller as years have gone in that part where she was taken away from in your life?
I will say that the longing for her isn't as prevalent. Literally, I can't count the number of years. No matter, yeah, it had been years. Every time I woke up, whether it was first thing in the morning, a short nap, or whatever, I would wake up feeling like something was missing, and I was
Mm.
looking for it. I'd be like, and then I had to tell myself like, "Oh yeah, she gone." I
Wow.
I'm not talking literally years.
Wow.
I would wake up like, what am I missing? What am I missing?
Mm-hmm.
And it would be funny. I would have dreams about her, and sometimes I'd be like, "Didn't you die?" And she'd be like, "Yeah." And sometimes I'd be like, she'd be like, "Yes." I mean, she just look at me like,
Yeah.
"Yes, Janine." It's like, are we gonna go through this every time? So I can't say that it's the void is filled. It's just the longing for her isn't as great,
Okay.
you know. But it kind of, what year was that? I think like 2 years ago, whatever. I was really, really missing her, and I hadn't felt that way in a while. It was just a thing like I really want my big sister, you
and
know.
that's
I
grief, guys. Like
right,
like I said, it comes in waves. It's gonna be repetitive throughout this thing, but that's how it is. One day you can feel like, okay, I'm getting through it, I'm
right,
okay. And then the next day you're bawling your eyes out.
right.
And it could have been 10 years since you bawled your eyes out
20,
about this
right,
person. But it happens and it's normal. So don't ever feel like, is there something wrong with me? Like this person's been gone for so
right,
many years and now I'm just today acting like it just
right.
happened. But
And I
when that
think
comes
that's
up, let yourself feel that. I say let yourself feel that.
exactly, and I think that's the problem, that people don't want to go through the various facets and the feelings of grief
Hmm.
because you know there's so many things. The disbelief, the shock, sometimes the anger,
For sure, the anger.
sometimes the confusion, even
Hmm.
the fear,
Yeah.
the feeling abandoned. The I mean, it's just so much. But my prayers often for people is that in the midst of the feelings of the sadness, that the love and memories can make you laugh. Because it's just so many funny moments, that I think about, with her, and just like, you know things that we laughed about, and just like the silly stuff, even the even the thing of, I never was a smoker, but I would keep cigarettes in my refrigerator for when I would get upset, and she would she would come, because at that time she was living on the second floor and I was living on the third floor. We wasn't living in the same apartment, and she would come upstairs. Where your cigarettes at? I know you got some. You ain't gonna smoke them. I'll be like, they my cigarettes. I want them for when I get upset.
Hmm.
You ain't been upset. You got a whole pack, you know. And so you think about little stuff like that. It's like, wow. But that was my big sis. That was my big sis.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
on and just sharing and just being open to express how you've been going through it and what you've been doing to kind of just deal with it and how it has affected you in a life. I would say, what would you tell someone who has lost their sister, their big sister, like their oldest big
Wow.
sister? What would you tell someone?
Well, first of all, I know that everybody's situation is different and their relationship is different, but I would definitely say to, you know, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to go through the various facets of your grief, like I said, whether that's anger, it's okay to be angry, but, to process it within a healthy way. And most of all, think of the love and the good memories. And I definitely pray extra prayer for those who have lost their loved ones in a tragic way because that takes on a different form of grief.
Yes, it does.
Because even though my sister left us, it wasn't tragic, and that's something that I've always thanked God for. That
Mm-hmm.
even though we have lost loved ones, nobody died tragically
Yes. Yes.
because that's a different form of grief. But just to think about the love and the memories, and also give yourself time, be patient with yourself,
Yeah.
if it's a day where you're kind of teary, allow yourself to cry.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not it's no such thing as, oh, they died 3 years ago, why you still crying?
Yeah.
Hello. you know I
Yeah.
mean, if it's a day where you're just kind of overwhelmed with their memories, allow yourself to just take that time to just think
Mm-hmm.
about them, and just feel the love that you had for them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Very true. Very true. I love that. Thank you once again.
thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in to episode number 2 of the Going, Growing, and Healing Through Grief podcast. I hope that this episode was able to help someone. And I just hope that you all have a beautiful, beautiful new year.